Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's been a little bit of time, but I figured let's get back to the basics, back to Disneyland, and do a Disneyland update. It's been a while, so there's a lot to talk about, a lot of things going on, and a lot of things that are gonna happen in the future. So I'm gonna start walking first to downtown Disney, and we'll get this video started. Now, as I'm heading into downtown Disney, I'm gonna go over maybe some updates that aren't the newest thing, but they're certainly relevant to people that are traveling to Disneyland this month or in the next couple weeks. I wanna bring more relevant information for people that are making trips, planning trips to come to Disneyland, so they kind of know the current status of things, the lay of the land, where to go, etc. It's gonna get more and more packed as we get closer to Halloween and we get into the Christmas season. A lot of people make their annual trips in the holiday season, so it's certainly a busier time of year for Disneyland. So right off the bat, I want to talk about this one. I just walked over here on the pathway from the Mickey and Friends parking structure. Normally, every guest is going to come right here for security. Now, at more impacted times, like first thing in the morning or later in the afternoon on a weekday, this is going to be a super impacted security checkpoint with lines going sometimes all the way back here. I just want to let a lot of guests know that maybe don't frequent Disneyland all the time and know all the little tricks and tips. There's two other security checkpoints that you can go through if you encounter a super long line here, especially now that the one at the Disneyland Hotel has reopened from its construction. So all you're gonna do is just continue to walk around the corner, and I'll show you two additional security checkpoints that you can go to if you encounter super long lines at that one. So I just walked from over there where the other security checkpoint was, across the street, and now I'm headed on a pathway that runs alongside the Disneyland Hotel. Now, the first security checkpoint that we're going to encounter is kind of specifically made for Disneyland Hotel guests, but isn't restricted in any way to just the guests that are staying at the hotel. At least for now anyway, right? Anything can change, so you're always going to want to make sure that you check with the cast members when getting in line that you're okay to be there if you aren't a hotel guest. So this is the first security checkpoint that actually just reopened after a little bit of construction. This used to be a non-permanent structure, kind of like a green tent one, like the first one we just encountered right next to the structure. It's got a little bit more of a permanent position now here right in front of the hotel. This is one of the options that you can do. If this one's also super impacted, you can head down the pathway here and past the Din Tai Fung restaurant, which is just over here on the left-hand side, and then you'll run into downtown Disney's main security checkpoint. Now this one over here can be heavily impacted, but a lot of times this one's really staffed well and moves pretty quickly. So I feel like having three different options to get in if you encounter a super long line is definitely a good tip. Not a lot of people know about, especially now that the Disneyland Hotel one's no longer under construction. The one that's directly at the exit of the pathway to the parking structure, not very big, not typically staffed all that well, and it's usually one that the cast members who park there will go in and out of. I feel like either one of these two are really great options for you to choose from as an alternative, so definitely check them out. And see, they're not that far of a walk from each other. I'm already over here at the security checkpoint for downtown Disney, which we'll head into in just a moment, but I'm actually gonna go check out some other construction first. I first wanted to give you guys a bird's eye view of the future site of Earl of Sandwich and the tavern that's going to be upstairs. They've cleared the land, but it doesn't look like there's been any movement as far as construction here. A little bit of a slow movement, kind of like the main story that's been going on in most of downtown Disney during its whole renovation rebirth process that's been going on. So just a dirt lot and not much else. But we do know this is the future home of Earl of Sandwich and also the tavern upstairs. Just wanted to show you guys this in case you were wondering what those remaining walls were in downtown Disney. Now over here on the right, these buildings here in white, that's going to be the home of that new Avengers store as well as the D-Lander store, which is kind of like a trendy clothing store featuring Disney merchandise. All right, and we are back on the ground. Here's a look at the construction site from down here on the ground level. As you can see, just a wall, unmarked. Pretty big space though that Earl of Sandwich is going to be occupying. And you can see the stores over here where we're gonna have D-Lander and the Avengers store are gonna be directly off this seating area. Now, the main entrance of Downtown Disney, which is right here where I walked through, it's actually all decorated around the stage for Latin American Heritage Month. So they've got a bunch of different decorations out. They've got performers happening. It seems like most nights that I've been here, I've seen different performers centered around Latin culture. And they've got some other decor over here on the right. And of course, a really popular thing during all these heritage months is they've got like a kids craft corner. And they've got, of course, the return of the floral Isabella from Encanto right here next to it. But yeah, there's lots of things to do if you're not going to the park, just around this. And then in typical fashion too, they also have a Latin American food truck here. This one's pupusas. And they've had a bunch of other ones here kind of swapping out for the different heritage months. So a nice little change if you're here at least for the rest of the month of October. So I wanted to stop here in Downtown Disney. This is, of course, the former Tortilla Joe's restaurant, which we know now is going to be turning into another Michelin chef restaurant that's all around barbecue and steak. That's going to be a steakhouse with a to-go barbecue joint. I'm not sure if it's going to have the same exact setup or if this whole building is being demolished. We don't really know yet. The only thing that's really happened is they removed the Tortilla Joe's signage from it. And then right over here, the iconic, or one of the iconic fountains, which you can see its shadow here on the ground, has been removed in Downtown Disney. But that's pretty much the only work that they've done surrounding the Tortilla Joe's location. We don't know when construction's going to start for that new steakhouse. Disney Eats or Disney Parks blog, I'm not sure which one, actually posted an article about the chef and how he's going to create another kind of like restaurant group, just like this one here that I'm looking at, that's from Chef Carlos Gaitan. He has, of course, the Centrico restaurant, the Tiendita restaurant, and the Paseo restaurant, all as his restaurant group with different offerings, right? You have quick service, you kind of have a cantina lounge, and then a more five-star, fancier sit-down restaurant. So as far as the steakhouse is concerned, it seems like the menu is going to be still pretty diverse. And then, of course, the barbecue restaurant is going to be totally different. But up next right here, straight ahead, is the next thing I want to talk about. So I actually first wanted to show you the concept art for this. This is going to be Disney Wonderful World of Sweets. It's going to be a new giant candy shop here in Downtown Disney that takes over the Marceline's Confectionery. More importantly, it's going to have a special stand or counter inside that's going to be making handmade Werther's Original caramel corn, just like at Epcot over at Walt Disney World. Excited to see that come here to Disneyland. And here's a look at the site itself. It's very, very large. This is taking over the former Disney dress shop location as well as the old Marceline's Confectionery location. They've already got the kind of pink and yellow, blue, all the different purple colors scheme going on the outside. They're moving pretty quick on this, and I would imagine so because I feel like sweets is a big, big, big moneymaker for Disney, especially in Downtown Disney. If you are visiting for the Halloween season, just before you walk in the parks, head on over here to the left to get a really great photo in front of some Halloween decorations we haven't seen in a really long time, actually. These Halloween decorations are normally along the tram route when you're coming from Mickey and Friends parking structure, so not really something you're able to take a photo in front of. But they're now here in Downtown Disney for you to be able to just pose with. You even got Pluto here, and there's some more at the end of Downtown Disney that I'll show you in just a second. So just off the big fountain here, before you enter the Esplanade, we have the final decorations that were added over here that used to be on the tram route back in the day. These were, again, not decorations you used to be able to pose in front of, but now that they're here in Downtown Disney, come by, check them out, take some photos, get a family shot for Halloween right in front of it. Certainly going to be a lot easier to get a photo here than it is in front of the big pumpkin on Main Street. And then before we head into the parks, the last thing I wanted to show was the Earl of Sandwich here at the very, very end. Now, as we all know, this is the former La Brea Bakery location, which is also going to be the permanent home of Portos Bakery, once they start construction on that. The reason I wanted to stop and talk about that there is I haven't really shown that yet in an update recently where we talked about some of the confirmations of it all. There were a lot of rumors surrounding the fact that this wasn't going to come, that Portos had backed out, but Disney has confirmed that Portos Bakery is indeed coming, and that construction would begin on the location in early 2025. So we'll see Earl of Sandwich permanently close at that location, move to their new temporary home just across from their permanent home that's being constructed that we were looking at earlier in this video. I have a feeling there's a lot more construction coming to the Esplanade, including potentially the rumor of removing the ticket booths once and for all to make a lot more space, right? Portos is going to need a ton more space than probably what's there, including dining space and space for their queue. But we'll have to wait and see kind of as we get closer to that time frame what it's going to look like. 2025 is going to be great not only for the fact that it's ushering in Disneyland's 70th anniversary, but it's also the beginning of a totally new era as Disneyland begins to transform and add all these new additions as they continue to expand into areas that were allotted to them through Disneyland Forward approvals. Now, we've been seeing a lot of construction walls outside the main entrance turnstiles of Disneyland. All they're doing, at least for the time being, is shortening or making the planters outside the turnstiles much smaller. I don't know if this has to do with the overall beautification or changes coming to the Esplanade, but that's what we have. You can see an example here. We have a tree that used to have a massive planter surrounding it. Now it's just the tree itself with a hole cut out. Looks like really temporary, but not a very big planter compared to what was there before. So we're seeing lots of construction walls, a lot of blockage of different areas of Disneyland. It's making you kind of have to go out and walk around in some cases when you're exiting the park. So just keep in mind, you can walk around the walls to the different entrances as they continue to kind of transform things. Like I said, the Esplanade's going to change a lot over the next few months, and we're kind of just going to have to wait and see what happens. We do know that the brand new turnstiles are coming to Disneyland and Disney California Adventure, but they haven't started construction on that just quite yet. I thought potentially those walls that were coming up was that construction, but not quite yet. All we know is that it's coming at the end of this year. So we just walked into Disneyland and we have been met with some major construction here on the Disneyland Railroad. The whole train station is completely covered in scaffolding, and the train is not running. It's not operational. A lot of us thought that they were taking this opportunity to work on that tunnel and the final touches necessary directly around Tiana's Bayou Adventure attraction, but it looks like they're also taking advantage of that time to redo and touch up things like the Main Street train station. We're probably going to see a lot more construction on Main Street with just some general touching up and building beautification, because it's going to be Disneyland's 70th. They want it looking its best, and they're going to have a lot of media attention on the park as it turns 70 years old. It is an iconic year, right? So just like the 60th and just like the 50th, they had a lot of beautification going on, a lot of sprucing up of all those old buildings here at Disneyland. And here's a look at the backside just to show you the scale of some of the work that's being done here. Basically, the whole entire building is covered, so they're probably working on roofing, painting, all that kind of stuff. As I was mentioning as we were walking in, get that photo in downtown Disney with those Halloween decorations, because look at this line, just to take a photo with the Mickey pumpkin. And this line does not die down throughout the whole day. In fact, it sometimes gets a lot worse at nighttime because, of course, the pumpkin lights up. So it's not a very easy place to get your photo taken in the Halloween season or in the Christmas season for that matter. So if you're looking to get that family shot while you're visiting for Halloween, I'd recommend doing that in another location or even in downtown Disney. Now, I don't know what the heck is going on over here in Tomorrowland, but we have construction walls surrounding the entirety of the lagoon or directly in front of Pixie Hollow. In fact, you can't even get anywhere near Pixie Hollow. Now, we've always had construction walls since before 2020 right here in this spot because they were starting the main entrance redo of Tomorrowland and then never just finished it. However, now we have a ton more walls than existed before. You can see they even redid the concept art for the new entrance to Tomorrowland, although no ETA on when that's being done. And then you can see the walls continue around all the way into Tomorrowland and all the way to Pixie Hollow. So I'm not really quite sure what's going on here, and I haven't really seen too much news about it either. You can see on the main performance corridor as well too, the walls continue on. They extend beyond and all around Pixie Hollow. So I'm not sure what the construction project is. Pixie Hollow's pretty like mixed bag as far as when you can and can't go in there anyway. But it hasn't been behind construction walls in a very long time. And they extend all the way over here. Just wanted to go to the backside to see just how far out it goes. So the walls themselves don't extend around the parts of Tomorrowland, but it does completely extend around Pixie Hollow. So maybe it's finally the end times for Pixie Hollow as kind of an unused space, in all honesty, at Disneyland. They could certainly put in something totally different. Well, let's keep moving through Disneyland. Looks like we might be expecting a parade soon, so I'm not trying to get caught in any of this. And we'll continue to look for different updates to show you guys before your visit. Now, walking back to the back end of Fantasyland, of course, It's a Small World is closed. And it's closed because they're doing some regular scheduled maintenance on this attraction, but also, of course, turning it into It's a Small World holiday for the holiday season, which begins November 15th, right around the corner, which also happens to be grand opening day of Tiana's Bayou Adventure. With the ride being closed, the gift shop is also closed. It looks like both are receiving some attention during this renovation, but if you are going to visit Disneyland over the next month or so, you're not going to be able to experience It's a Small World until it becomes its holiday version, November 15th. Over here at the Fantasyland Theater, they've got nothing going on now that Pixar Fest is done. However, the Troubadour Tavern is still open, and they're still serving all the items from Pixar Fest. So, including my favorite, the Roundup barbecue potato. That potato was so good. It has Coca-Cola barbecue sauce burnt in like beef bits all on the potato with Coca-Cola barbecue sauce and like Funyun chips on top. It's seriously one of the best baked potatoes I've ever had at Disneyland. And I'm so glad it stuck around after Pixar Fest. So if you didn't get a chance to get any of the Pixar Fest food, you can at least get some of it over here at Troubadour Tavern in Fantasyland. So remember that little tip when you're over here visiting the parks this month. Now, if you are visiting in the month of October, bring your patience when it comes to visiting New Orleans Square area of Disneyland. With all the construction surrounding Haunted Mansion and the exterior of the attraction, it really makes this area congested, especially when there's certain times of the day when Pirates of the Caribbean's line and the Haunted Mansion return times kind of all get backed up. It can really make this area impassable, especially during like Fantasmic 2, forgot to mention. Right now, Haunted Mansion is only virtual queue. There is no lightning lane option, there is no standby option. Your only option is to join a boarding group and hope that your boarding group gets called at some point during your visit to the park. That's the only bummer about Haunted Mansion for the time being. Now, there were rumors that the queue would technically be done by the end of September. But it seems like the construction really just delays and delays and delays over here at Haunted Mansion. And it's now middle of October almost, and we truly don't even look like we're all that far along. Now, as far as the exit gift shop over here, this is Madame Leota's like horse stable gift shop. This is coming along just fine, and it's huge. In fact, if you're standing by Haunted Mansion, it completely blocks your view of Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Probably a little bit purposeful in the sense that it allows a breaking point between when it transitions from New Orleans Square to Bayou Country. But that's probably going to be done, I would say, before the queue at this point, which I certainly wasn't going to think would be the way it turned out. And here's a look inside Critter Country, aka the soon-to-be Bayou Country. Now this is the main entrance of Tiana's Bayou Adventure. You can see a brand new roof, brand new look for the whole building, and that continues on around the corner to all the former buildings that used to be part of Splash Mountain. Let's also go around the corner and take a look at Lewis's Critter Club, which is the big store that used to be Pooh Corner. So here's a look at the outside of Lewis's Critter Club, aka the new gift shop that's going to be opening soon, which is the whole left side of the former Pooh Corner. This used to be themed to 100 Acre Wood Winnie the Pooh up here, and now it looks like we have some Bayou Performer theming up here instead. So we've got, it says performers only, and it has like some instruments and things of all the different animal performers we might see performing inside Tiana's Bayou Adventure once it opens. There's even a little bayou scenery here in one of the windows. You can see right here it has the hanging bottles and all that stuff. Swamp trees, things like that. So this half of the store is actually still closed, but the other half, which is Pooh's Corner still, is open. So you can see in the gift shop they actually have the signage saying coming soon Lewis's Critter Club. So there will be a portion of the store that still has Winnie the Pooh merchandise, but more importantly, the major part of the store is the candy store, which still exists, still has all your favorite treats and candy things, including a brand new treat that they just started doing once everything reopened. It's that blue honey pot there, right there in the showcase. And it's actually a candy apple that's just themed to the kind of famous blue honey pot that Winnie the Pooh always has with this honey in it. But the attraction still kind of dumps out into the shop, and at least for this portion of the shop, like I mentioned, it's still called Pooh's Corner. So we're still going to have that signage there. And of course the attraction still remains. A lot of people were afraid that when Critter Country had closed for that little brief period, maybe a couple months actually, that Winnie the Pooh would go away, but in fact Disney never said it was going to, and it never did. They just wanted to kind of redo some of the ground and the space in here as they get ready to kind of merge it and better mix the space to make sense with Tiana's Bayou Adventure coming here, and also better make sense with calling the attraction's new space, its new land, Bayou Country instead of Critter Country, right? It's no longer that kind of pine forest. I mean, even though there are pine trees in here, but they want it to resemble more of like the bayou, right? The swampy land. So we've got more like brown ground put in here. They've made it kind of look more muddy, and they also helped grade the land. In fact, you can see wheelchairs have a lot easier of a time riding through this space. It used to be a lot steeper, and for a lot of wheelchair users that don't use automated wheelchairs, it was kind of dangerous. You could be walking or rolling much faster than sometimes maybe you could control. So that was a big part of the project here in Critter Country. They were trying to grade that space and make it a little bit less steep than what it used to be. The other soon-to-be new addition here in Bayou Country is going to be the Hungry Bear Barbecue Jamboree. Still the Hungry Bear restaurant, but now a barbecue joint. No opening date for this yet. Maybe it aligns with the opening date of Tiana's Bayou Adventure, but it looks ready to go. I mean, at this point, it's probably just leftover renovation that's happening inside the kitchen, and or maybe training some of the chefs and staff on the new menu, etc. But it does look, at least on the outside, ready to go. And then right over here you can see popping up over the trees there, or over the wall, is the former Briar Patch store location, and that's going to be changed to Lewis's, or not Lewis's, that one's going to be the Ray's Beret store. So themed to Raymond, the famous Firefly from that movie, but that's going to be his gift shop right outside, or the edge there, of Bayou Country. And here's a look at Tiana's Bayou Adventure itself. They are doing daily testing now over here. Like I said, cast member testing, or cast member previews, starts on October 22nd, which is just a few weeks away now. And you can see the attraction is actually full of water and, like I mentioned, has been testing almost daily. In fact, I had some really cool night shots that I'll put up on the screen now from when I came here the other night, and they had the whole lighting package set up and turned on around Tiana's Bayou Adventure to really give it that new magical look at nighttime, which we've kind of already seen at Walt Disney World. But as we walk back to New Orleans Square, you can see just how big that building is for the new gift shop at the exit of Haunted Mansion. And again, it's going to be a horse stable, and somehow it's going to be Leota's horse stable, so it'll be a gift shop themed to Madame Leota. And you can see right here, that's the exit of Haunted Mansion. So you're going to exit Haunted Mansion and essentially be right there at the gift shop. So Disney loves doing exit gift shops, and a lot of times we've wondered, why doesn't Haunted Mansion have that, right? They had a little gift cart set up there, but that really never drew in the crowds or was enough space to hold all the merchandise that would probably sell very well just at the exit of Haunted Mansion, considering how many fans the attraction itself has. But that'll soon to be the case, because they'll have their own really nice gift shop that'll probably be one of the most popular locations in the whole park. I think that about wraps up a lot of the updates here in Disneyland Park. Before we head on over and hop the Esplanade to Disney California Adventure, I just wanted to mention too, if you guys are going to be here on nights they're doing Fantasmic, which is typically Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and you want to do like the canoes, you can see one of the canoes right there, or you want to do the Mark Twain, make sure you do that first thing in the day. Typically, we're going to see like final boarding calls for those attractions on nights of Fantasmic around like 4:30, 5 o'clock. It kind of just really depends on the attraction, maybe even the staffing that day. But make sure you prioritize those earlier in the day. I have a lot of people that go towards the end of the day, maybe like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, still hours before Fantasmic. But those attractions are already closed because they're prepping for the show. And they're kind of disappointed that they hadn't done it earlier. So just a little mental note, if you are coming on the weekends in October when they do have those nighttime spectaculars, something to keep in mind. Alright, let's cross on over now to Disney California Adventure Park. I don't think there's too much going on over here, but it's worth walking through anyway and just seeing what's happening. Obviously, this park plays host to Oogie Boogie Bash throughout the month of October, so make sure that if you're going on a day to Disneyland Resort and you're planning to go to maybe Disney California Adventure on one of those days, just make sure you're not going to the park on a day it's closing early for Oogie Boogie Bash and you're not actually attending the event, because you'll be very surprised that day when your park day is cut short and you're asked to leave and you don't have tickets to go to the other park. So seen a few people that's happened to already this year. Disney tries to do their best to warn you when you're making reservations, but sometimes people don't always see it, so just keep that in mind. One bit of news we did have that I haven't shared yet is with the red car trolley. The red car trolley is actually going to be permanently leaving Disney California Adventure starting in early 2025. They're going to be getting rid of the red car trolley in order to accommodate the expansion of Avengers Campus with all those new attractions they announced at D23. There's just no longer going to be a space backstage to hold and charge and maintain the red car trolley cars themselves, because the roundhouse that holds them all has to go away in order to make room for these attractions. So no word yet on if we're going to lose the red car trolley tracks on Buena Vista Street or if they keep them for that thematic look. In addition to that, are they going to keep the thematic cable lines for the cable car trolley? The cables themselves don't hold any useful value for the trolleys now other than aesthetics. They don't provide trolley, power, or anything. It's simply because when John Lasseter was in charge of Walt Disney Imagineering and he was helping spearhead the construction and renovation of DCA 2.0, when they were discussing the red car trolley attraction and putting it in, he definitely wanted those cables to be in place, even though they didn't need to be there, because the original electric car trolleys that ran in LA had those cables for the purpose of power. But this trolley is battery operated and actually charges wirelessly when it's parked at each of the stations. So the cables here are truly just for aesthetics. In fact, the cables themselves have caused a lot of problems as far as parades fitting in DCA. They actually had to modify the Paint the Night parade when it came from Disneyland after the 60th and came over to Disney California Adventure for its next home, because the floats were too tall to fit underneath these cables that run up and down Hollywoodland and Buena Vista Street. So right now they don't need to be there either, but they do provide that overall look of the classic LA that they were going for in this space. So the question is, do the cables stick around or do they go as well? I'm kind of hoping either way. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. We don't really have huge, massive parades at Disney California Adventure, and they do provide a little bit of a thematic look. Like there could be a trolley coming down the street at any moment, even though in the future there's not gonna be. But it gives it that feel. So we'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see what Disney's gonna do as they move forward with theming this space. But I just wanted to mention that because I forgot we hadn't talked about that yet. So if you are going to Disneyland sometime now between the end of the year, make sure to get your rides in on the red car trolley, because it might be your last depending on how often you come to the parks. You can see when the trolleys leave at the end of the night, they come down this track and they actually go through those big double doors here in the Avengers headquarters building. But now, of course, the attraction itself, the big main e-ticket attraction for Avengers Campus, it's going to have its building, its show building, just beyond the Avengers headquarters, as well as that brand new Tony Stark attraction. I think it's called Stark Flight Control or Flight, I already forgot the name of it, but essentially you'll be getting into those spaces right over here. This whole wall will disappear, and you'll be able to walk further and deeper into Avengers Campus this way. So quite a bit of change. No movement yet, at least over here anyway. We don't know what's going on backstage, potentially. But I'm kind of excited to see kind of what it turns out to be. Avengers Campus really never got fleshed out into its full-fledged form. Probably thanks to previous leadership and the pandemic and all that kind of stuff as far as budgets are concerned. But we're welcome to see any changes that help expand and grow the capacity here at the parks. Let's keep walking through DCA and see what updates we got going on for the rest of the park. Now, I wanted to mention this over here at the Pixar Pier. If you've been to Disneyland recently, you saw a lot of construction over here. They actually redid those bright red roofs on either side of the entrance of Pixar Pier. One side being the Knickknacks gift shop, and then of course the other side being Lamplight Lounge. These bright red domes, as you can imagine, get heavily faded, covered in bird poop and all sorts of things. So they weren't looking the best, considering that Pixar Pier opened in 2018. And they were definitely fading, and it's nice to know that Disney cares about some of these details. They actually redid all these and are redoing some of the other things in Pixar Pier. Since a lot of the colors here are bright and very vibrant, the sun does quite a bit of work on them as it fades them over the years. So Pixar Pier looking very, very nice. But that's really all the updates that I can see over here at DCA. I'll probably head over to the Boardwalk Pizza Pasta area, the Garden Grill, so we can kind of take a look at what that's looking like. But other than that, we might wrap up our day at the end of DCA here. So I made my way back over here to the back corner of DCA, and there's no real updates. Of course, this area is still themed to Plaza de la Familia for Halloween, and it will transition to Viva Navidad, but keep in mind, Viva Navidad is going to have very limited showtimes this year. It's only going to run for a small period, and it's typically only on weekends. But for now, enjoy Plaza de la Familia. You can come over here. You can put your favorite family memories the Remember Me wall, essentially. And then they have the ofrenda back here where you can meet Miguel throughout the day, or just take pictures in front of the ofrenda as well. And then Paradise Garden Grill has its menu for Halloween. So not too much, not a lot of change going on over here at DCA for the most part. All pretty standard, what we saw, changes that came for Halloween. But I think that pretty much wraps up our day of updates here this weekend. Alright everyone, that wraps up this update here at the Disneyland Resort, basically the first week of October 2024. A lot of construction still going on, of course, in New Orleans Square as we get closer to the opening day of Tiana's Bayou Adventure. I'll, of course, try to be there opening weekend. I'm not going to be doing any of the cast member previews, but I'm excited to see what everyone shares once they do those. Again, those are going to be starting October 22nd, so probably a lot of Tiana's Bayou Adventure on your feed. But thanks for watching, everyone. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, hit the like button, and leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you real soon.